And so I was at the nursing center, and we were going around talking about what we liked, and the people couldn't hear me. So I walked up to this old man and I said, "Hey, bro, you want to go out and play some croquet?" Because they had some croquet set up in the front lawn. So we got out there. We reared back the mallets, and unfortunately, I reared it back too far, and I hit Alfred, an elderly man, right in the kneecap. And he fell down and just did not get up. That's not funny. It's not funny. He's alive. He is alive. They did have to bring a wheelchair for him. So, Alfred, if you're watching now, I am still sorry, just as I expressed to you, but you probably were in so much pain that you couldn't hear me. But again, I'm so sorry. And really, it's just goes to show how terrible of a person that I am, that I'd even do that. So, anyway, Brett, how are you doing this week? Did you do anything fun?
First off, I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. This week, I'll say this. I kind of took your words the last couple weeks about walking, getting the exercise in. I really took those to heart. So I set an alarm for 5, and I got up, and I was going to go to the gym, and my key card wouldn't let me into the gym. So I thought in my head, all right, first challenge of the day. You know what I'm saying? Do I turn back and get in bed because it's still 5:10, you know? I could get another solid 45 minutes of sleep in. But I didn't. I went to my truck, and I got a headlamp, and I just started walking down the road.
Let's go.
And
Let's go, man.
I walked a mile and a half, and then I turned around and walked back. So it was incredible. But I started doing that every day, and I realized that whenever I was getting up and walking, whenever I got to work, I'd already been up for 2 hours at that point. So my head wasn't all groggy. I felt like I was more energized. So it was really, really a positive. And on these walks, I've been listening to sermon podcasts as well from the Church of 1122.
Oh, yes.
Which actually your aunt and uncle are now part of that congregation there. Shout out Baba and Dale, the real OGs.
You weren't supposed to say anything about that.
Sorry about that. Didn't know that was confidential.
I'm just kidding. That's funny.
Oh, but it's been good. Yeah, they're going through. He spent like 6 sermons on the first chapter of James. And James isn't that big of a book. And I went through it with my good friend and mentor, Brian Harrington. But there's a lot of takeaway there. There's a lot of takeaway from James. So other than my walks, your parents came and visited us this weekend, as well as my wife's parents. They're the same people. And we went out to dinner last night, and it was really good. Your dad got this pork chop, and it was really 2 pork chops put together. It was the size of Texas, is what I would compare it to.
That's a big 2 pork chops.
It is. And then we got tres leches as dessert. So really, a great, great dining experience. And then today we walked over the John Ringling Bridge, which is in downtown Sarasota, named after the great circus tycoon, I guess you could call him. He pretty much owned Sarasota at one point in time. So it was overall just a great week. I feel like I got a lot of momentum rolling into the next week. So yeah, it's been a good one. How about you?
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. 2 quick things that were shot off in my brain as you were speaking is this waking up at 5 a.m. being more energetic. I learned why that is. It's our cortisol levels. They shoot up after about 2 hours after we're awake. So after 2 hours you're awake, your cortisol levels are at a normal rate. So, and I learned that because you're not supposed to drink coffee until your cortisol levels are at a normal rate. And what you'll find often is if you allow your cortisol levels to get to a normal rate, you won't need the coffee. Second, my father and his pork chops. I wanted to share a personal story. Is every Saturday, not every Saturday, but some of my fond memories as a child is we would wrestle on the bed, and he would pork chop us, which is just tickling. Oh boy, tickling us. But we were children. I mean, we also did this when we were 7. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. This was about 8 years old, 7 years old, 14 years old. Heck, last night.
23 years old.
23. But that's exciting, man. I love that. I also spent time with your parents-in-law, which are also known as my parents. We're kind of those courtesy stops on the way to see you. And what that entails is food and great company. So spent some time there. Played a little pickleball on Friday morning with my friend Connor. And we played at a local park. And we played a woman named Paula and a man named Daniel. And their energy, I would say their cortisol levels were up there. Because they were bringing the energy, they were bringing the heat.
That's awesome.
And it was just an exciting time. This morning, well, not this morning, Monday morning, but Saturday morning, got the prayer breakfast. Had our life group gathered, and it was a party of prayer, and Cracker Barrel breakfast. I played golf this Saturday, walked 18 holes with Weston and Lauren, who are some people in our life group. And this week has been heavy focused on college students returning to Gainesville. So I've been hanging out with some college students. I kind of feel a little like I'm a has-been. Feel a little out of place, but also I'm on the younger side, so I still feel like I have some street cred with them, if you know what I'm saying. But that's been the week. It's been a busy one. It's been a beautiful one. No complaints. Can't complain.
That's awesome. I mean, I feel like that's got to be the tough part about living in a college town, right? The students keep coming back, and they just keep looking younger and younger. But really, you're just so old, and they don't think you're cool anymore. But you're like, yeah,
That's right.
I could hang with these people. And they don't want to hang with you. I mean, not you personally, me speaking. They don't want to hang with old people, you know?
Yeah, it's true for me as well. Like, for instance, I did the gritty in front of everybody the other day.
Wow.
And they didn't even know what that was. So it was like, my goodness, we've reached the next generation. But mad respect, you know.
Mad respect.
What have you seen in the sports world these days?
Well, this week an article that really caught my eye what had to do with the Spanish Football Federation. Their president was attending the Women's World Cup, where I believe Spain won it all. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
they did.
Okay. I didn't watch the game, but I read an article. He apparently went up and kissed one of the players. And obviously that's not going to fly with a lot of people, you know. It's not
So
like
they weren't in a relationship.
No, they were not. And it was kind of a celebratory, you know, everybody's running around, jumping, high-fiving, and it looked like he just grabbed her and kissed her. And so she came out and said, hey, that wasn't cool. He did like a 30-minute press conference and said, you know, it was all in the moment. Everybody was, it was celebratory. It wasn't, it wasn't like a sexual thing by any means. I think his exact words were, "It would be like if I was kissing my daughter in a celebratory way." And then I also read a comment he made describing the experience as euphoric. So I think it's difficult when you say it's a celebratory kiss and it meant nothing, and then following up by describing it as euphoric. So really, it's an unfortunate situation. She said that it was non-consensual. I also, in the same article, read that once the fate of the game had been sealed, he was seen grabbing his crotch in a celebratory, victorious motion. I didn't watch the video, but that's how they described it. So I don't know if it was a crotch chop or really what it was. Either way, this man's he's not doing good. He's not doing good at all.
There are so many things that are wrong with this. Number one, if your excuse is, "Oh, it was in the moment," that doesn't excuse anything. Number two is you said it was euphoric, and you also said that it meant it was like him kissing his own daughter. So
That's where I draw the line.
so, buddy, this is not a good look. Not a good look at all.
No, but I mean, part of me kind of understands him, because there's been some moments in Ben Hill Griffin where something happens and the hair on your legs starts to stick up through the jorts, and everybody's jumping around, and there's a dude next to me, maybe a guy next to me, and I want to kiss him on the lips, but I restrain myself at that time, you know.
I think the big thing, and non-consensual is non-consensual, but think about if you were in charge of the person that you were at the Ben Hill Griffin Stadium with.
Right. Typically, I mean, the guy I'm sitting next to, I don't know him from Adam, you know. And I'm definitely not going to be the guy's boss and try to kiss him, you know, in this hypothetical situation. But yeah, it's, I think he got suspended for like 90 days, but no doubt this dude's, his career is done. And he was, you know, he was El Presidente, El Jefe, but yeah. I'm guessing that's not going to be his title for too much longer.
I mean, I just don't know what to say, other than that's probably not a great move, El Presidente.
Right. Yeah, so that's going on in Spain. They're going to have to figure that out, you know, with these guys just kissing their subordinates. It's not really something you can do in 2023.
Or really any time.
Well, right. But especially in Spain. They really, really are hard on that kind of thing. But other than that, in the sports world, college football is coming back, and I am so excited about it. I mentioned...
Yes! Yeah, boy!
Goosebumps thinking about it, you know what I mean? Thinking about...
The hairs tingling out of your jorts.
The hairs tingling out of my jorts. Wanting to maybe kiss another man? No, I'm kidding. But it's an exciting time. Fall's right around the corner. Fall's right around the corner. College football's back. Of course, Florida's opening up at Utah at a very, very hostile environment of 50,000 Utah fans. So I'm sure that'll be very difficult for them, the crowd noise. Not saying we're going to win. I don't think we're going to win. But at the game last year, you could definitely tell the Utah fans were not used to that kind of noise. I saw several on fourth down that were sticking their fingers in their ears. I was like, oh, I'm so glad you guys are experiencing this.
That's funny.
So,
have you seen the Untold Swamp Kings documentary?
I have seen it. And I thought they were going to go into a lot of the negative stuff a lot more, but they didn't, and I'm fine with that. So essentially, it was just 4 episodes of, rehashing the glory days. Really, some of the most, I don't even know the word, maybe formidable years of my childhood. Formidable?
Wow.
Is that the right word?
Formidable.
Formidable. If it's not, we can...
That's a formidable opponent, which means that's a tough. Well, that's a hard.
Maybe formative. Is formative the word I'm
Formative, I
thinking?
think. Formative is a good word.
Yep. That's the one. That's the one I'm thinking of. But yeah, it was a good documentary. I thought it was definitely pretty sympathetic to old Urban. But, you got us a couple chips, so I'm good with it.
Yes. And then was swinging.
Indeed. What have you seen in the sports world?
Well, here's what I've seen. A man with the last name of Yakovich, first name of Al, bought a Michael Jordan rookie card for $34,000. Which to me, I'm thinking that's a good deal. I don't know how many rookie cards are out there, but I've seen rookie cards go for millions of dollars. So it's an investment. Here's what happened with Al Yakovich's Michael Jordan rookie card. It was fake. So he was out $34,000 for a fake rookie card. Now, that is a bad investment. One that he didn't know about. But as with all heartbreak, time heals all wounds, yes. And so he got his money back.
Did he?
Now yes, he did. All $34,000 worth.
That's great.
Now what's funny about this, Al, is when asked, does this ruin your image and view on the industry? He says, no. It's an unfortunate event that happened. But it's not on the industry, it's on the person. And I just thought that's a beautiful way to put that. The people are bad. Industry could be bad, but it's not inherently.
Right.
But that was the riveting sports news of my world. Because Weird Al Yakovich is based in Tampa. And I'm trying to... there's not much other sports on yet. I did a couple fantasy football drafts. Well, actually, that was a big lie. I did one fantasy football draft. We're looking at Patrick Mahomes. We're looking at Garrett Wilson, Jamar Chase. I mean, we're a star-studded lineup, but my fantasy football is like the Texas Longhorns, always looking good but never clutch in the moments.
Right.
Now, maybe there's a change on the horizons for both teams. But that's the big one. $34K refund on the fake Michael Jordan card. Shout out Michael Jordan if you're listening. Feel free to send us something for free because we're talking about you.
If you want to be on the pod, just hit up Young Flobo on Instagram, and we'll think about having you on if you want to join. So
you'll probably have to pay, but
yeah. Seems like Al's got a great outlook on life. He's a real live and let live kind of dude. So I don't know if I would be...
Maybe he's someone we need on the pod.
Now, he would be a little more realistic, possibly.
Well, he's more our speed. People who get scammed.
People who lose all their money. He loses all his money on a rookie card. We lose all our money trying to put together a podcast. So good. Speaking of money, I got a little word from our sponsor here. Over the years, I've heard from many people saying, you have incredibly saggy eyes, and your eyes sag to the floor. I have heard that, and it does not feel good to hear that. That was probably because I spent many hours of my life on executive golf courses trying to make a hole-in-one. If I'm being honest, that led me into great despair. It was not good. There's no ad here. I just want you to know where I'm at in my life right now. Oh, goodness. Sometimes I feel like whenever you're underwater, you just want to keep swimming down. And for me, that looks like playing executive golf courses so I can finally hit a hole-in-one and feel like I have some sort of value. But that's just my personal story. And I thought, you know what? Instead of groveling at the feet of these sponsors, I would really like to just tell you people how I'm feeling inside. So, sorry to kind of put that on everybody emotionally, but that's where I'm at.
That takes a big boy to share what's on your heart. I've been moved to tears by your by your transparency. I can hardly speak right now. I'm so emotional. Sorry.
Oh, I just felt like it was
I just want you to know, your baggy eyes have never affected me. I'll play executive courses with you, and your value isn't just found in executive courses. It's found in your hole-in-one. So if you can hit that hole-in-one, you'll probably accomplish a lot of things in life.
Right, and I'll finally be worth something.
Yeah, of course.
And who knows? Maybe I'll buy a black Lexus, move to the villages, and see what the Lord does with me.
Amen, baby. Oh boy. So, if you remember from last week, we shared a little bit about what kind of comments we've been receiving. Mostly the negative kind. But that happens, you know. So we shared something, and we shared a video of us talking about this, and it kind of blew up. We kind of gained some popularity because it was about the 5 followers. We only have 5 followers, but guess how many we have now? Is 30. So we posted that, and all the people started commenting. 15th follower, maybe I'll buy some merch. 26th follower, maybe I'll buy some merch. And then we were followed by someone with 1.1 million followers. And that's all I gotta say. It speaks for itself. I don't know if you have any thoughts.
Well, I'll say 1 million people is a lot of people. So yeah, it was a huge breakthrough. We've got, our followers are growing every day, baby steps, and then we get this 1.1 million person. And who knows, they could be sharing our content with all 1,100,000 followers that they have. So I think this is our big breakthrough, and I'm hoping that next week's podcast we can come back and say, you know what, guys, we now have 2 million followers and we've sold $500,000 worth of merch. I think that's really going to happen next week, and I truly do believe that.
Is this a prayer right now or a manifestation?
I don't quite believe in manifestation. And I don't think, and this may be wrong, but I don't know if I would go to prayer to try to get more followers. I don't know if the Lord really cares if I have more followers. Maybe He does. Because
that's prosperity.
Yeah, we'll be impacting more people if we do. So I will say this: if you follow our podcast, a lot of good things and blessings are gonna happen to you. And next week we're gonna have our good friend Joel on the podcast. Kidding aside, I do, as a little disclaimer, I do know this this gal that has 1.1 million followers. She's in our Bible study group on Monday nights.
Oh, Brett, you're kind of breaking up.
Uh, uh, okay, oh, but she's a blast. So, but I really do think our breakthrough's coming.
Yes, yes. And if you're out there and you're wanting to buy merch, it's there. But we're just gonna stop promoting it because we don't want to be sleazy. We want to
Right.
be loving. But we will love you if you buy some merch. So there is that. That's all the comments we got. We didn't get much. We're kind of.
We're kind of lacking on comments, but look, if you're deciding between dropping a comment or buying some merch, I could tell you which one that me and Beau would rather have you do. So,
That's funny.
goodness gracious. Well, I think in this next little segment that we've got here, we're going to talk about some of our favorite restaurants all across the country. It could have been across the world, but I don't think, I mean, I know me and you both have been across the pond, so to speak. But none of those restaurants over yonder made it on the list. So I'm going to go down the list, and this is our top 3 restaurants. And for me, my restaurants are always fluctuating depending on how I'm feeling and what I'm craving. So number 1 for me, and I'll say this isn't really in any particular order. This is just in the top 3. The first one I've got is Mahogany Ridge in Steamboat, Colorado. Oh, man. They have this lamb, I think it's a lamb loin, and it's got these little sauces that you dunk it in. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. But it's in, it's Steamboat is Ski Town, USA. It's snowing outside. It's dark. They've got the Christmas lights up. Just the whole ambiance. And you come in and get a delicious medium rare cut of lamb. Oh, it's so good. They've also got this poblano that's stuffed with all sorts of cheeses and other things. It's really...
What kind of cheese?
It's excellent. I couldn't tell you. I think it's every single cheese that was ever created. I mean, this
14-year aged cheddar?
Yeah, it's a fat poblano. But they've also got they've got a bar where you can have like wings and burgers and stuff, and then the back where I dine, of course, because I'm fancy, has a lot more of the entrees and nicer food. So that's the first one on my list. The next one is a little close to where I'm living, and that is Shore on Longboat Key, just outside of Sarasota. So they actually have one that's in St. Armand's Square, which is like a shopping center area. But the best one is out on Longboat Key. They just built it a couple of years ago, and it's, man, all the seafood is just so good. So good. They've got this snapper that's on a bed of, I think it's risotto or risotto, however you want to pronounce it.
Hello. Yeah,
And
I mean, risotto.
It's absolutely incredible. So there's that. And then I also get the, what's the octopus called?
Squid. Calamari.
No, calamari. Not squid, but calamari. And it's
I think
great.
calamari is squid, not octopus.
I'm not going to fact check you on that because I don't know. I don't know the truth, to be honest with you. Oh, but that's excellent as well. And then the third on my list is in Fort Worth, Texas, and it's Heim Barbecue, and they have, I want to say, 14 different kinds of barbecue cuts that you can get. They've got everything from, obviously, the briskets, pulled porks, and whatnot, but they've got these little bad boys called bacon burnt-ins, and they're just so sugary and fatty. You bite into them, and the fat just explodes in your mouth. It's so good. And they make their own jalapeno cheddar sausage, and they make corn dogs out of it. And I'm a huge corn dog guy. Don't tell any LSU fans. I'm a big corn dog guy. And they make it with their signature sausage, so it's unmatched. Really.
That sounds like it's hard to beat. I haven't had the Heim signature sausage corn dog, but everything else I've had from there is pretty top tier.
No doubt. So if y'all are ever going to those particular cities in the old US of A, you'll have to stop by. How about you?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm not one for... Here's what I can't even talk right now, but I'm not one for ranking foods by numbers because I feel like I'm locking myself in for the rest of my life.
Right.
And I don't want to lock myself in for the rest of my life to a food, you know? But right now, I'm with you. It's fluent and fluid. But right now, I was thinking Chinese food. There's a place in New York City called Wohop. Very much a hole in the ground because it's underground, basically. You're on ground level, and you walk downstairs to get to it. And great Chinese food. Fantastic Chinese food. And there's a lot of places in New York City that I would put on here, but we're going different cities. So it takes me to Gainesville, where I live right now. There's a Mexican restaurant called Las Margaritas, which is Spanish for the margaritas. While I haven't had one of their margaritas, I think it's the best Mexican restaurant in Gainesville when you look at all around. I tend to get the chicken Jalisco, and that is chicken, queso cheese, and some sautéed vegetables, things such as zucchinis, squash, and carrots. And I replace the beans with rice, so I get double rice.
Oh.
And it's just a blend of beauty. And the free chips and salsa that's nonstop is pretty optimal. It's hard to beat. Lastly, we're going to Arlington, Texas, and we're going with the Texas Rangers Wednesday night $1 glizzy. I tell ya, I've never wanted to gobble so many glizzies in my life. And the fact that they're $1 a piece, my mouth is watering right now. I think the hot dog is one of the great inventions in the world. And if we could get an ad read for hot dogs, specifically Texas Rangers $1 Wednesday night glizzy, oh my goodness, I'd be pampered like the pampered chef. So, Texas Rangers, if you're listening, feel free to shoot us some tickets and some glizzy. And you can even advertise us as the glizzy gobblers, and we'd show up.
Yeah, I mean, if they want to do something during the seventh inning stretch and say, coming all the way from the state of Florida, the glizzy gobbler, and they just show us on the Megatron just downing some glizzies.
Yeah, some glizzies. Oh, man. Quite frankly, we have the glizzy gobblers tonight. And then they'll give out bobbleheads for us. Oh, yeah.
That'd be so good. So good. I love that these restaurants have, it's not just the food, it's the atmosphere.
Oh, yeah.
And it's also a great deal. For $1, you're going to get a dog. I mean, you can't tell me you're not just going to walk up to the concession stand and slam a 20 on the counter and say, you know what I'm here for.
That's right. It's out of my entertainment budget, baby. We're gonna have to miss. We're gonna have to miss 1 month of podcast so we can afford the Glizzies.
Which brings us back to the merch. We're begging you to buy some.
The merch. And a little word from our sponsor. Are you tired of your wife going to the mail and absolutely blowing the budget while her friends laugh and brag about their extensive credit heaven subscriptions? Well, if you're looking for a way to stop the bleeding, look no further. Introducing the Shop Till You Drop Budget Taser. The Shop Till You Drop is a small device that you simply slip into your wife's back pocket before a shopping trip. With an integrated app, you can set a budget on her credit card. And if she exceeds what you want her to spend, she'll get a visit from Mr. Sparky. The Shop Till You Drop Taser is incredibly useful device that I personally use every weekend. Well, that is every weekend that my wife hasn't left me because of the gastrous mattress fiasco and Tiki Tom's hot wing challenge. I personally use it every weekend. If my wife buys one too many pairs of shoes, she'll be crumpled on the floor of Nordstrom within seconds. Get yours today and start reining in your budget once and for all. Needless to say, my wife does not really like me, but we got to keep this podcast alive somehow.
That's right. Look, I mean, if she's going off and buying shoes at the Nordstrom, and it starts cutting into our funds to do this podcast, I think you got to put some guardrails in place. And it seems like you've done this with the Shop Till You Drop budget taser. So I will say, I mean, I've never used it. You've told me about your experience with it, about her, being on the floor of the Nordstrom after buying an extra pair of shoes. How did she take that? I mean, I'm guessing not too good.
Well, she could hardly remember. The Shop Till You Drop's a pretty powerful tool. I won't say weapon because it's a tool that helps you spend wisely.
Right.
But whenever she returned home, she stood up, looked me in my face, and slapped me right across it. And I took it. I actually turned the other cheek and said, "Thank you. May I have another?" Because quite frankly, I just slipped another Shop Till You Drop taser in her other back pocket. But
so when she leaves the house and she's like, I'm gonna get back at him, and goes and purchases another, she's gonna be getting double trouble.
And it works at Nordstrom Rack too. We don't judge and discriminate based on shopping centers. It's just where your GPS shows you.
Right.
I get a little ring on my phone that says, "Your wife is back at the store." And well, now I will say I usually do this because I feel left out. I'll be honest. You were a little transparent earlier. I feel left out of my wife's shopping endeavors. She always goes without me. So, this is one way to bring us back together.
Right. It's for the store manager to call you and say, "Hey, your wife is once again unconscious on the floor. Come pick her up."
Yes, that's exactly how it goes.
Well, that's certainly one way to go about it.
Yes, so we're still in the healing and mending process of our relationship. Anyway, what songs have you been listening to?
Oh, great heavens. Great heavens. My song of the week this week is In Dreams by Sierra Farrell. This is a gal that my brother put me on her music. She's just got an incredible voice. I mean, she's got some of her songs are a little unique, but most of them kind of have that, I don't want to say hillbilly, but they got a little, West Virginia sound about them. An
Appalachian, perhaps.
I believe so. And And I would say her alternative version, which is like the acoustic version of this song, I prefer that more than her the regular version of it. But it's just a good song, and she's got some others that are really good. Her voice, I will say, it definitely takes you by surprise the first time you hear it, and you're gonna think, I don't know, but you're gonna listen to it again and be like, dang, she's pretty good. So yeah, that's my song of the week, and it's a good one, so y'all should go out there and listen to it.
I'm going to listen, and I promise you that. The song I've been listening to is called Pure, Pure, by Abby Gamboa. Like a boa constrictor, but add Gam in front of it, and it's Gamboa. But it's a little Christian tune. Talks about the worship, letting it be pure rather than fake, authentic rather than inauthentic, real rather than not real. You know, the good stuff. And so, pure rather than unfiltered? Is that the opposite? Or is unfiltered pure? Now that's a head turner.
That is a great question, honestly. You think about it. It depends, I think it depends what the source is, right? If I think about like a mountain stream, I think about that water being pure. But if I'm thinking about a cigarette, you got to add a filter on there to make it pure. You know what I'm saying? So I think it depends on the source of what you're talking about.
But here's a question. What if you're trying to drink that mountain, that pure, quotation, mountain water? Because I'm betting that mountain water isn't good for you, but you can run it through a filter that makes it pure. That's good for you. So there's too many options. I don't know. I just don't know. I think it's a great question for our listeners to answer. Do you find pure to be unfiltered? Or do you prefer to put that filter on the cigarette? Proverbial cigarette. We don't.
Of course.
We do not promote cigarettes.
Yes.
That is one ad that we will not do.
Yes. And drop, in the comments or wherever, let us know what your favorite brand of proverbial cigarette is.
Proverbial, yes.
Of course.
But since you didn't do your ad reading, you kind of shared a little bit what's on your heart. I have one final ad, if that's okay.
Yeah.
And it is a handy dandy. Let's see. It's an umbrella. I'm trying to open it here.
Oh my goodness.
Here we go.
I think it's bigger than your room.
Wow. I may have just broken it. I think I've broken the umbrella.
This is such a great ad. You're like, the quality of those umbrellas are top notch. Snaps it.
Wow. So I'm being honest, I don't know what's happened here. But I will remain faithful to our partners. I can't. They are Hannity's. I'm sorry, Hannity's. This is not a good look for you.
And I will say, before we started recording, you were, opening it, closing it. You could do a little Mary Poppins with it.
I could.
And not not one fault. And now you try to pull it up and it is just folding So bad. Wow.
So one of the brackets snapped off, and I think this umbrella is out of commission. So if you're watching this, Hannity's, we need a new umbrella.
I also love how you're saying, oh, I need a new golf umbrella. And look at this, the Lord just drops one in my lap. And then now it's broken. That is truly very sad. Very sad. And I would actually like to follow up on your advertisement, because I didn't, like you said, I didn't get to advertise for a real product. So I'm here, I'm wearing a Wyatt's Coffee t-shirt. That's a coffee shop in Gainesville, downtown Gainesville. I don't know if they have any other locations. I just like the downtown one.
Shout out Wyatt's Coffee.
Shout out Wyatt's. They source their beans from local Florida farms, I believe. Is that right? Resident Beans comes from Florida, I believe.
Yes.
So if you're stopping through Gainesville, or if you live in Gainesville, let's get real. You know about Wyatt's, and you know it's the best coffee. There's no question about it. I'm not going to list any other coffee shops in Gainesville that I'd like to put on blast, because that wouldn't be very becoming of me. But Wyatt's is the best. In the fall, they have a drink called the Wyatt, and it's just a little cinnamony little latte. Oh, just warms the heart right up. But they're great. They do a lot of, they give back to the community a lot in Gainesville. Do a lot of work with the homeless folks downtown Gainesville. So really great people that run it. It's an awesome product. And you just go in and chill for a little bit. Just vibe out. Do some work if you need to. But yeah, it's a great spot. And if they were to possibly sponsor the podcast and send some beans my way, I would not be upset. So that I could, down here in Sarasota, I could possibly try to recreate my Wyatt's experience.
That's a good word. That's a high. You spoke very highly of them. One of the cool things that I like about Wyatt's is they sell this type of bean. I forget what exactly its name, but I believe 30% of that sale goes to the charity. So they're always working to give back to the community, and it's locally owned through everything. So highly recommend if you're in the area. You can always ship beans to your door even.
True.
So, and if you go to Wyatt's and you're in Gainesville, tell them that Quite Frankly sent you.
Mm-hmm.
They'll know exactly what you're talking about.
They won't question it at all. They'll just say, man, that's awesome. That's great. And if it's raining after you get your coffee, you can get an umbrella from
Hannity's.
Hannity's. Not to be confused with the late night Fox News anchor. I think it's spelled differently.
It is spelled a little differently. But here's our broken bracket if you're watching visually. Sorry about that, guys. That kind of ruined the ad. This is why we don't get sponsors.
You wonder why you have to make up our own sponsors? It's because Beau's breaking all their products.
We had one shot. Oh, man. All right. Well, any parting words?
No parting words. I just, I'm going to ramble on, and so apparently I do have some parting words. I would say make it a point to get up a little earlier and move around a little bit. Even if that's, getting up a little early, don't make any coffee for 2 hours because your cortisone levels don't get up. But yeah, get out, move around. You know what I mean? Get in the Word a little bit. It's great. I would challenge you to do that.
Amen, baby. Praise God. It really is. If you establish that kind of rhythm, it's going to change your life. And I actually can promise you that.
Backed by
If
science.
you're backed by science and scripture, baby. Get in those rhythms, my friends. I love you deeply. Brett loves you deeply. And together we love you generously.
Amen.
Signing
Amen.
off. See you in 7 days.